You have your mother's eyes.
Severus Snape, one of the most fascinated and complicated characters in the Harry Potter books. Snape was an ambitious and cunning person, and his personality is complex and full of details. So in today's video, I'm gonna leave Snape's story in the books aside and go back to explain his early life and Hogwarts years. Severus Snape was born in January 1960 to Aelian Prince, a pure-blood witch, and Tobias Snape, a muggle, making him a half-blood wizard. Severus grew up at Spinner's End, a small village of Cockworth. This area of town was near a dirty river. The young Severus is depicted as being unwashed and wearing ill-fitting clothes. As a child, Severus was neglected, and his parents often fought with one another. He could not wait to leave for Hogwarts at the end of the summer. His unhappy relationship with his father might have been the original of his disdain for muggles. Severus was friendless and uncared for by his parents. This lack of care largely shaped Severus' disposition and cruel behavior later in his life. Snape used to watch a girl named Lily Evans, which she and her family lived in the same town, close to Spinner's End. After watching her for some time, Severus noticed her evident magical abilities and began trying to befriend her. The two bonded quickly, and it appears that he was very interested in Lily right from the beginning, though she only regarded him as a good friend. Lily was fascinated by Snape's stories of the world of witches and wizards, and Snape was happy to find someone who accepted him and could also do magic. Lily once asked Snape, "Doesn't your dad like magic?" Snape replies, he doesn't like anything much. While Snape had a close friendship with Lily, that friendship didn't extend to Lily's sister, Petunia. Unlike Lily, Petunia had no magic, and so was of no interest to Snape. On the way to Hogwarts for his first year, Severus sat with Lily Evans on the train. While on the train, they met James Potter and Sirius Black. This encounter between the three of them revolved around the disagreements regarding what Hogwarts house was the best. Upon arriving at Hogwarts, Snape was sorted into Slytherin house, while Lily was sorted into Gryffindor. Thus the two got separated from each other, but despite that, they remained friends. Severus sat next to Lucius Malfoy, who was a prefect during his first year, and greeted him kindly when he moved to the Slytherin table. Snape classmates were always stating that Severus excelled in the dark arts from an early age. According to Sirius in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Snape knew more curses before he reached Hogwarts than half the 7th year students. He reportedly was friends with a gang of Slytherin who later became Death Eaters, including Bellatrix Black, Rodolphus Lestrange, and Wilkes. James and his group of friends, Sirius, Remus, and Peter, were constantly at war with Severus throughout his school years. James' big crush on Lily and Severus' close friendship and love for her also raised the war between the two. Snape once was bullied by the Marauders. They turned him upside down to reveal his underwear in front of many students, including Lily. Lily came to Severus' defense, but this only made things worse. Severus accidentally called Lily a mudblood. Lily refused to forgive him for it, even after he repeatedly apologized. This would forever be Severus' worst memory. Severus was a talented wizard, even in his childhood. At some point, he made a potion textbook during classes to invent curses, charms, and clever potion innovations. It contained some very powerful curses, like Levicorpus and Sectum Sempra. It was at this time that Snape gave himself a new name, the Half-Blood Prince. That prince was the name of Severus' mother, and so the nickname was revealed to be a combination of his mother's name and his blood status. Severus noticed that Remus kept disappearing during the full moon and once followed him past the Whomping Willow after being tipped off on how to do so by Sirius Black to confirm his suspicions. This act could have cost Severus his life. When James found out what had happened, he went after Severus and managed to save him just before he got to the Shrieking Shack, while Remus was in his wolf form. Albus Dumbledore swore Severus to secrecy, but the true nature of Remus was clear to Severus. By their 7th year, James had grown up of his immortality and arrogance to the point that Lily agreed to start dating him, even though he never grew out of his hatred for Severus. Unfortunately for Snape, Lily ended up marrying James, which only strengthened Severus' anger towards him. Severus Snape eventually joined the ranks of Lord Voldemort's Death Eaters. His actions as a Death Eater are largely unknown, though he quickly became an important Death Eater in Voldemort's inner circle. In 1980, Albus Dumbledore made an interview with Sybil Trelawney in Hogshead Inn about hiring her to teach at Hogwarts. Trelawney prophesied that at the end of July, a child would be born who would cause the destruction of Lord Voldemort. Snape was responsible of spying and eavesdropping on this. At that time, it was not clear who was meant by the prophecy. Two children of Wizarding family were born that year at the end of July, Harry Potter and Neville Longbottom. However, Snape didn't hear the entire prophecy, but he went straight and told Voldemort about it. Severus suffered terrible regret when Voldemort decided that Harry Potter was the subject of the prophecy, and Lily Evans, the woman whom he always loved, was now in danger as a result of his actions. He begged Voldemort to spare her, who agreed. However, knowing that he couldn't leave Lily's safety in the hands of someone like Voldemort, he also approached Albus Dumbledore to ask him to save Lily. He pleaded with Dumbledore to hide her along with her husband and son if he had to. Dumbledore agreed, but insisted that Severus serve him as a spy among the Death Eaters, which he agreed. It was Snape's request to Voldemort which allowed Lily to let herself die in order for Harry to live. When Voldemort attempted to murder him, his curse backfired and Voldemort's body was destroyed. Despite Dumbledore's best efforts to protect the Potters, Voldemort was tipped off and he found him anyway. After Lily's death, Snape was devastated and distraught to the point of wishing himself dead. But Dumbledore insisted him to ensure Harry's safety out of respect for Lily's memory. Snape's Patronus was a dove from the moment on, just like Lily's was. This proved his unending devotion for her, and that his love for her was the strongest force in his life. So Snape spent his entire life protecting her child Harry Potter. He initially applied for the position of Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, but was rejected multiple times. It was because Dumbledore was aware by that point that the job had been jinxed by Voldemort. Knowing that no Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher would last longer than a year, Dumbledore instead employed Snape in the position of Potion Master and the head of Slytherin House, following the retirement of Potion Master Professor Horace Slughorn. Following Voldemort's fall, Snape never attempted to find his old master, having switched sides ever since the Dark Lord had targeted Lily, and this allowed him to avoid time in Azkaban, as Dumbledore strongly defended him. He faked the fact that he believed Voldemort to be dead as an excuse to still be a loyal Death Eater, but in truth, he and Dumbledore had discussed Voldemort and knew he would eventually return. Henceforth, the most important reason why he applied as a teacher to ensure from the shadows the safety of Harry Potter, who Lily had died protecting. This would bring him into conflict with Death Eaters, but Snape was almost immediately forgiven by the reborn Voldemort because he could provide him with 13 years of information on Dumbledore and the Order of Phoenix. Snape was unsuccessful at saving Harry's mother from the Dark Lord, but as Dumbledore points out, Snape had the ability to make sure Lily didn't die in vain. Lily's desire was to save Harry, so Snape, due to his love for Lily, chose to take up her mission and protect her child. In the end, Snape kept his promise and never stopped until his very last breath.